All right, everyone. We have another episode of Got Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. And hey, New York Liberty fans, y'all got not one, but two players on the active roster playing for Team USA and a few others that we might still see in Paris. All that and more coming up on today's episode of Gotta Get Up. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Hey, women's basketball fans, welcome to Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans brought to you by Black Rosie Media and hosted by Erica L. Ayala. All right, Liberty fans, I hope you are rested on this Thursday because, whoa, the women's basketball news cycle can keep you down. But today is the first day of WNBA All-Star voting. So I hope you've got your energy up because you get to be a part of the decision-making when it comes to which players will represent Team WNBA at the Midsummer Showcase. So if you were around and watching the league in 2021, then you know that ahead of the Tokyo Olympics, which were pushed back a year because of COVID, that the WNBA and USA Basketball, they hosted a showcase where the 12 athletes, all of them playing in the WNBA, who were representing Team USA at the Olympics, they effectively played an exhibition game against players that were not competing for Team USA and pretty much not competing in the Olympics for any country, because unlike the United States and Canada to an extent, most of women's basketball international teams, they kind of centralized, like what our women's hockey team does before an international tournament. So that was an interesting game because you know who competed for Team WNBA and not Team USA? It was Candace Parker. And for those who think that a certain Indiana rookie guard is the only player ever to be, air quotes, snubbed by USA Basketball, I think Candace Parker might have something to say about that. After not making the 2016 team, Candace Parker had a lot to say about not making that squad, about feeling that the head coach at the time, Gino Auriemma of Team USA, of course, the head coach, longtime head coach of UConn women's basketball, didn't want her on that team. And so the narratives that we're hearing around, again, a certain rookie in the WNBA this year, they're not new narratives, but how shall I say? The fervor is a little bit different. The audience is different. And the passion with which people who, quite honestly, don't really watch women's basketball are talking about this, yeah, that's kind of taking things over. But we're going to get into the Olympic roster for USA a little bit more. I want to talk, though, about players of the week. Once again, the New York Liberty have a player of the week. This time, it was Breanna Stewart, as well as Dearica Hamby, your two players of the week that were announced on Monday or Tuesday, technically on Tuesday. And so these are the players of the week for last week's competition, week 4 of the WNBA. Dearica Hamby, for her part, playing with the Los Angeles Sparks right now, had 19 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 3.7 assists to help the Sparks in that run last week. And then you had Stewie. Again, Breanna Stewart, we talked about it on the last episode, but it was Sab who was the player of the week for the Eastern Conference. This time around, Breanna Stewart. So here's the graphic that the WNBA put out. I find the colors that they're using this year a little interesting. Anyway, I digress. Player of the week, Breanna Stewart, 21.3 points per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, and 4 assists, making her the week 4 player of the week. What up, Damien? Hola, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué tal? I'm doing all right, Damien. I am getting ready to finalize my content plans for the Olympics. You can, well, I always point the wrong way. This like mirroring thing is so weird. Over here, I think it used to be here, it was falling here, but this is my kind of vision board poster. And it's getting me ready for not just Paris, but for LA. So Black Rosie Media credentialed once again for the Olympics. We will be there for you. And so we'll get into that a little bit more. But yeah, a good week for Stewie, a good week for De'Erica Hamby, who I think it was in one of the Sparks, one of their ESPN games, told Holly Rowe, listen, she's looking to have an MVP season, wants to be a league MVP, and will have to do that with a new team. Now, the interesting thing is Hamby caught a little bit of heat this week. You know, we're still in our shoot around, so we're talking about news around the WNBA. But I want to bring somebody in who might be able to help me talk through this. Misha Jones.
What's up? How we doing?
Oh, you know, we live in life.
Living life.
We live in life.
About De'Erica Hamby.
We're talking about De'Erica Hamby, but before we get into all that, I see the microphone placement just lowered just a little bit. You know, Washington gets a win, and all of a sudden.
Look, I tell you every time I come on here, I'm never the one who makes it about the Mystics. Y'all always bring the Mystics into it, and I think it's so funny. But yeah, it feels good to be back on the pod post Mystics W. I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah.
Oh, for sure. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, I'm gonna crack open a Poppy prebiotic soda. We are not sponsored, but totally open to it. I mean, Black Rosie with some raspberry rose. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it.
I really enjoyed their root beer. I was surprised at that.
I haven't tried. Okay, first of all, I freaking love root beer, but I haven't tried their root beer flavor yet.
Yeah, it's like that.
I've been sticking with the more, you know, fruity tropical ones. Okay, I'm gonna try it. Bet that's all I need to know. Come on, Poppy, come through. Come through. We're gonna be like Owen Pence and his starry. That brother loves Starry. Anyway, we are gonna talk a little bit about De'Erica Hamby. So we're just getting into some of the shoot around topics. We're at Player of the Week. Obviously, we talked about Stewie, but Hamby saying that she want to go for an MVP. What are your thoughts on that? And you know, getting a Player of the Week, certainly a step in the right direction. But is it realistic for this season, given how the Sparks are playing, and just kind of knowing how MVP votes usually go?
So MVP talk is always just it hurts my heart for certain players like De'Erica Hamby, because I just know when we're talking about the top players in the W, popularity, of course, is going to play a little bit of a role in that, in the MVP race. Like, I just feel like no matter what you're doing on the court, names with more pop, you know, we saw it with AT. Wasn't AT your MVP choice last season?
Yes, she was my choice last year, and she's my preseason choice this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like, you know, we're all human, and I just think that always plays a part in it. Whether or not people want to acknowledge that, I'll leave that to them. I'm not, you know what I mean? I got nothing to do with that. But yeah, and so I think it's tough for Hamby, but she has an argument. You know what I mean? She's putting up numbers. She's doing things for the Sparks that, like, and you've seen it. You've seen her build year after year after year, right? Like, this isn't a surprise by any means, but she's got an argument, and so I can't blame her for that. And you know what? I'm all for bigging yourself up, because in a league like this, if you want your name to be recognized and known, you got to claim that, man. You got to claim that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's an interesting conversation. I just love that she's not afraid to put it out there.
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
That's a big part of the conversation. All right. So we have a few other topics in our shoot around stories around women's basketball. And I saw this one a couple weeks ago, Mish. I just love it. I just double up everything as like a colloquial.
No, I'm sitting here like, who told you that's my nickname? Because people really call me that in real life. And I'm like,
I believe it. It's just an easy one. It's just fun. Yeah. Like, what up, Miss? Yeah. But okay, so I heard this a little while ago. Local paper in South Carolina first reported on it, but Dawn Staley lifetime contract. Did you come across any of this?
I did not. I would love to know more about it, though. This is the first I'm hearing about this.
Yes. So now the term lifetime, it's thrown around there, and there's been a few, I think, likely football coaches that have had quote unquote lifetime contracts, but the idea is definitely regarding just setting and locking in a extremely long-term contract with a coach to the point where, yeah, they'll probably be closer to retirement than finding a coaching job somewhere else. And so the current deal, which she has, which until Kim Mulkey got her LSU deal, was the highest contract in women's basketball for a women's basketball head coach. You know, it is a so she's in the 4th year right now of a 7-year contract. Okay. And her deal will run through 27-28. And right now, apparently, according to Yahoo Sports, that has Staley tied with Gino Auriemma as the sport's second highest paid coach. Again, both behind Kim Mulkey, who has a 10-year, $32 million extension. Holy cannoli. Let me like mess around and try to be a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame women's basketball coach, because that's some nice money.
That is, yeah.
That is some nice money. But of course, we know that not only did the Gamecocks win a championship, but they went undefeated, which, you know, is wild. I also thought this was wild. Her original contract when she was hired in 2008 paid her $650,000 a year. Now, for me, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah. It's more than what I'm making right now.
That's a lot more than I'm making right now. That's a lot more than I've ever made in 1 year. She and the Gamecocks have posted a 109-3 record over their last 3 seasons. And again, she's at $3.5 million right now. So, like, I mean, I'm not a numbers person, but I feel like it's got to be in the hundreds of millions if you asking me to stay for life.
For life?
For life?
Yeah. And Dawn Staley, you know, she be in shape. She be out there working out with Body by what's their strength coach name? Molly?
Yes,
Molly Benetti or something like that.
Be out there.
Shout out to you.
Over there doing the Tamia challenge. You saw that?
Stepping at the basketball camp. Yeah. I mean, Dawn Staley gonna be with us for a minute. So if she wants to, and I don't doubt that she has the competitiveness, you know what I mean? That fire to stick with this for a very, very, very long time. So hey.
I mean, if it works for you, I just like it, I feel like I change careers, let alone jobs, like every handful of years. So being in one place, I mean, but also the older you get, I mean, you know, you might want
trying to go everywhere, man. You trying to
you be like, I done what I done. You feel me? Like
she's done a lot already.
You know, I think it's interesting. There was a conversation that I was having among basketball writers, but not necessarily women's basketball writers. And they were like, well, what would it take to, you know, coax Dawn Staley into perhaps taking an NBA or a WNBA coaching thank you, Misha. I'm just going to I'm going to sip on my poppy because that's exactly the face I made.
I just feel like it's frustrating to me. You hit one of my pressure points here. It's just frustrating to me when people can't accept that what a person is doing is what a person wants to be doing.
Come on.
Like, I understand everybody thinks the NBA thinks, and I won't say everybody either because, you know, I don't want to speak for people, but there are a lot of people out there who think the NBA is, you know, should be the top destination for all the coaches in the coaching world. And that's just not the case, man. Like, NBA is cool. But every coaching job comes with pros and comes with cons. And Dawn Staley has, you know, she's done what she needed to do as a player. She ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. So what, you know, if she's happy doing what she's doing, let her do what she's doing. Let her be the greatest. Like, and I think being a women's basketball coach at this specific time is one of the most pivotal things you can do and be as a leader in sports. Like, we're in a moment right now. Kids need leadership.
Come on.
And people who want to be that person for them, not people who see them as a stepping stone to something else. So that whole just attitude on any level, in any job, in any coaching situation.
Miss me with
just,
it. I feel you. Also, I'm pretty confident that Dawn Staley has said that she's good. Like she's not out here looking for NBA jobs. Now, WNBA, I think could be interesting. I'm not sure that's necessarily what she wants to do either. I mean, there's a lot of structure in NCAA, and not usually, there's a lot of money in NCAA. Period.
Facts.
And we're starting
clearly for her,
right? Right. We're starting to see with some of these contracts that money is looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Now we have seen reports of the contract that Becky Hammon has and Girl Dad has, but so the WNBA might be getting there, and a name like Dawn Staley could push it over the top. Right. I mean, if anything, I could see Dawn Staley being like, you know what? I bet you want me to coach in your league. This is what you got to pay me, and I'm out after a year. And I feel like the reason Dawn Staley would do that is because she's always advancing the game. Right. The reason Dawn Staley wouldn't do that, which is why I think she won't do this, is because do I think Dawn Staley would cheat the game if she were to coach a WNBA team for 1 year? No. Mm-mm. That being said, does she need to do that? Does the game need her to do that? Does it become more of a gimmick in the minds of other people than what it would be worth? You know what I'm saying? And I just think Dawn Staley would be mindful of those kinds of things. So yeah. It's a no for me, dog. But I got to argue with people who. Okay, you okay. All right, cool. Tight. Anyway, we're gonna leave that alone for now because we're gonna have plenty of opportunity to raise our blood pressure with some of the other topics on the rundown. Now, of course, we are going to talk about the Olympics because there are 2 members of the New York Liberty that are headed to Paris. What's on? I'm so ignorant. Maureen, you're gonna be like, girl, please just can you just write your questions? Because I can't. Don't speak. Jokes aside, congratulations, Breanna Stewart headed to her first Olympics. Sabrina Ionescu other way around. Breanna Stewart headed to her third Olympics. I cannot speak today. Sabrina Ionescu headed to her first Olympics. Yes. And shout out to the homie and more than likely whatever content staff she has for putting in a Black Rosie Media video as a part of her little celebration of her announcement to the roster. She had all of these videos of different times and stages at her in her development with Team USA and with USAB, doing interviews and stuff like that. And the most recent one had our little Black Rosie Media Paris logo on there. I was like, yo, actually, it was Jackie Powell hit me up and was like, that there's the Black Rosie Media logo in Sab's IG story. I was like, I do not know that, but I will go look. Yep. That was hella dope. I mean, obviously, just great for Sab, who's one of the first-time Olympians. Kelsey Plum, not a first-time Olympian, but first time on 5-on-5, and you could see how much making this particular team meant to her. Misha, did you get to see the video that USAB put out? Who had your favorite reactions? Let the folks know.
I mean, the reactions were just heartwarming across the league. Like, I think Kaz really got me. Because you could tell she was trying to hold it. She was trying her hardest to hold it. KP, I figured she would cry, honestly. And then DT's was kind of sweet too, because she was like, "I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous." And now that I've talked the whole offseason about how, not hating necessarily, but about how I didn't want DT on this Olympic team, it was kind of cool to see that. So
I know we talked about it. I was like, listen, I understand. And I've been there because I've doubted DT, and I was like, dang, why did I do that? Why did I do that?
I also feel like it was because her and Sue, there was something poetic about them being tied.
Oh, for sure.
And so now that, let me not be presumptuous, but the chances that USA wins the gold medal are high, I would say. Okay, I think that's fair.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
It just, I don't know. There was balance to the universe, but, I'm sure DT will enjoy, let me not talk about retirement, but when she gets there, enjoy rubbing that in Sue's face. So,
oh man, listen, DT is freaking hilarious. And I've already said, it's not that I always agree with her antics, because sometimes she just downright nasty. but she's also hella funny. So there's this interview circling around social media, and she's being asked about Caitlin Clark, who we will talk about. But there's a few other people in the quote unquote snub category that I want to talk about first. So DT's being asked, well, you were one of the players who made an Olympic roster coming right out of college. And she's like, yep, I won 3 national titles and then I was named to the Olympic team. I was weak. And then like the interviewer just kept talking and you could just see DT like just nodding and just smiling after what she just said. I was weak.
Hey, what can you say though? That's her resume. Like, and that's the part that I really didn't want to touch this, but I feel like I have to. Like, that is what frustrated me from jump about the whole conversation about her being snubbed, or Caitlin Clark being snubbed for the Olympics, because that's a narrative that's pushed by people who've never been in that gym. No. That's a narrative pushed by people who've never sacrificed like that to have what they're looking for be shot down and miss out on making the Olympic team. Like that's
generally speaking, because I don't know, there were some legends that had some things to say.
You know what? You're right, because we do have some people talking sideways right now, and you know what? We don't need to name names, but yes, you're absolutely correct. So it's just the whole situation has been frustrating. But yeah, DT, her resume speaks for itself.
I know that's right. Brian Florence, you better stay hydrated.
I know that's right.
You better stay hydrated.
It's hot as hell out here.
Oh, I believe it.
Yes,
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm good. My computer is acting up and trying to create antics, but gonna make it ride for as long as I can.
All right. We appreciate you. You see what? That's what we do. We show up. And, I think we're going to get into Caitlin Clark, and we're going to get into some other snubs. Maybe we might get to what Damien put down here. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. But Brian, first, because this has got to get up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. We know we got 2 active Liberty players headed to Paris, and I got Misha's thoughts. I want to get your thoughts, whether it was Sab, whether it was Stewie, or any of the other 12-player roster. Who had your best reaction to being named to the USAB roster?
I might put Kalia Copper second, because I think the backstory of how she made it from 2022 to Australia is fascinating. On, I think it was Tuesday afternoon, USAB held a Zoom presser, and Jen Rosati, the director of the program, was talking about Kalia in particular, and she mentioned that she took essentially a leap of faith being on the World Cup team on Australia, because basically I think she was explaining that players who went to Australia weren't guaranteed that they were going to be on the team. So she was like, am I there? She's like, we don't know. And then she went anyway and had a really great showing. And then you sort of see her game continue to grow and evolve, and her leadership grow, her skills grow. Just like even I think her reputation, she had the finals MVP, but it feels like people view her in a lot higher esteem now than they did in the fall of 2021 when Chicago won the championship. So you see the natural evolution and growth of a young player to where they are now. And I think just having this moment was a huge validation of all the hard work that she's put in. So that was really heartwarming to see. And I would put Sabrina second, because they had the team had the video of it. And this is funny, like Brian, the PR guy, he told them that they were there for like some sort of like regular interview. They were like, oh, whatever. So they get there, and then the guy, then the USAB folks there, and then they're like, what is this? So yeah. I thought that was really sweet. It was very much like you don't see a jaw drop in real time very often, but as soon as she opened the door, like a jaw dropped, I was like, oh, they got it really good. So I think that was a really close second, and I think it's really appreciative. And also with that, Jen on Tuesday again talked about Sabrina's growth in particular from 2022 to now, how she incorporated Cheryl Reese's feedback into what she was doing, how she tries to implement it and really make herself a better player from when she first got there with USAB 2022 to where she is now. So I think just like Kalia, you really sort of see the gains and the structure of USAB really sort of like amplifying her game and really letting her sort of like work new muscles, experience new things, and then really grow to be the star player that she is now, and a better player than what she was when she first got to USAB in 22.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we talked about it a little bit when what do they call it now? Oh, it's called the World Cup now. So when they had the World Cup, you know, Sab was on one of those teams, and you know, she didn't get time right away. And folks were saying, certainly not with the same volume that we're seeing now, but it was one of those things where Sabrina is the most recent version of number one pick, expected to be all things for everyone, say all the right things always, and is going to fix the WNBA, right? She was the most recent version. Stewie's been there, DT to an extent, Sue Bird, you know, they always skip over the melanated folk. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But even though they are more representative of 80% of the league. Anyway, so it was interesting because the conversation we were having at World Cup was, well, why would you put someone like Sab on the team if they're not going to get any time? Or some people were having that conversation, right? And then it's like, well, this is a dominant USAB team. If you put someone on the team, are they really, quote unquote, that bad that you can't give them minutes? And so, but what you said, Brian, is the MO of USA basketball. For better or worse, you are expected to, we kind of made, you know, the miracle joke a couple of episodes ago, but you are expected to represent the identity of the United States women's basketball team, not Ka Copper, not Sue Bird, not Diana Taurasi. Diana Taurasi, who I have said multiple times on this podcast, is likely the most dirty player in WNBA history, plays differently when she plays for USA basketball. There is a censorship that, of all people, Diana Taurasi has when she plays for USA basketball. There's an expectation that you are going to play within a unit. And because of that, and of all people, I really think it's wild that the discourse has me agreeing with Rachel Nichols. But what Rachel Nichols also reiterated is that this team will have about 7 practices to play 6 games, roughly. If I remember, it's about 6 games. 6 games to win a gold medal.
7 practices.
That's wild.
People don't understand team dynamics. People just, there are so many things.
You know what I'm saying? And so the fact that Sabrina and Ka, to your point, and other players as well, AT, I think, is probably up there as well. The fact that these players took that feedback, and it's probably feedback that kind of rubbed against every competitive itch in their body that got them to the point where they could even be considered for USAB. The fact that they were able to do that, it almost feels like, I mean, I don't have any inside information, but just from the outside looking in, it feels like that is just as much of a test of qualification as anything that happens between the lines.
Right.
Yeah. And I guess to your point, pretty much the entire skeleton of this team was the 2021 Olympic team in Tokyo and the 2022 Cup team in Australia. So you have that built-in chemistry. Like everyone here has years of practice and experience together. So and even the skeleton of the team was in Belgium, even though it didn't mean anything for USA basketball because we were already in the Olympics. You still got 4 more games of real-time experience, and then that Belgian game went down to the buzzer, so you have even more crunch time experience. So this is a group that's really been together for a long time, and been together, grown together, and learned more about each other. You know, I think back in November, when I think Erica, you might have been on the call when Sabrina was talking about how when you're in USA basketball, you sort of put aside any sort of like individual rivalries and team rivalries.
Yeah.
You know, all these players have gone at each other with the highest stakes possible. Like we've seen our players here compete for championships against people who are on their team.
4 of them. Just last year.
Yeah.
Not even a full year ago.
Yeah, so we see that everyone here knows how to sort of separate and sort of compartmentalize and really be able to come together for the common goal. And I think for that, it's so valuable. And I guess just sort of like branching off a little bit, like I wonder if you guys are where I am. The idea of just, oh, you could throw whoever out there because we America, we're gonna kick your ass. Like, nah, we can't do that. Like,
I mean, Belgium.
Yeah,
Kelsey
Belgium.
You said it, yeah.
Yeah, could you imagine just like grabbing any old player off the street for Emma Miesemann? That's going to be a disaster. Like you gotta put a team together, and you can't treat it like how the men's team was in their 2000s largesse in like 2000 2004, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna grab any old 12 dudes, we're gonna win. Like you saw it fail, and we had to revamp everything. So for this program, everyone's been here for a long time. Everyone has years, maybe decades of experience in the USAB pipeline. So you have everything coming together, and you make sure that you have the right people, right coaches, everything is lined up the way you want it to be. So that way you're not having to sort of do like a crash course in chemistry, because like you guys said, we only have like 6 games. Like 6 games altogether. I think three sort of like
Our preliminaries, because they're in the pool with with Katie Ledecky and them. No, they're in the bracket with I think it's China. I think China's their first game. Germany, I think, and Belgium. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about Germany, but I know for sure that Belgium and MV Miesemann. MV Miesemann is in there. Dang, I miss Emma Miesemann bad.
People forget Emma Miesemann, and that was during the time I was a beat writer for the Sticks. That was not for the Sticks, but covering the Mystics.
Covering them,
and that was a magical moment in the nation's capital. That was, I mean, just an orchestra of the perfect skill sets all put together in one person. She could. We forget about her. We gotta put
and shouldn't.
We gotta put
Misha.
What's up?
You got to make the boss call to get Big Meese back in DC.
Big Meese is crazy.
Not Big Meese.
Big Meese is insane.
I mean, why she gotta go to DC? Well, why can't she go somewhere else?
Nah, she coming back to DC. She going anywhere. Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. She already knows she loves it here. Why would she not come back to DC?
I mean, I don't know. DC's having a moment. Okay,
that's
here we go.
If we had Emma Miesemann right now, we would be top 4 in the league.
Would you?
No, I'm so serious. I will stand on that statement. I will stand.
Okay, so I mean, okay, we might have to have this conversation another time because we got some things to run through. I don't know. I'm not sure. I believe in Tebow Light.
He working hard, boy. He be trying.
These nicknames are insane. But be for real. Do y'all really think he's not in that room when decisions are made? He absolutely is. He's the GM, but his hands are not totally off.
Oh, you mean Big Tebow? Oh, come on. Yeah, you know he all up in there.
I don't believe it for a second. So it's not just Tebow Light. It's Tebow regular too.
Not Tebow regular. OG Tebow. OG. Papa Tebow.
But on the real, that's a coaching family. Because Carly Tebow coaches at
and Blake Dudanis, he married into the coaching family.
But what school is it?
Is she with Fairfield right now?
Or Fairfield? Is it? Yes, because they were kicking in the tournament.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways.
Okay, and I misspoke. So I thought it was China. Oh, it's Japan. So it's Germany. So I got Germany right. I got Japan wrong. So Germany, US, Japan, and Belgium in group. That's what it's called. Group C. Group B is Canada, Nigeria, Australia, and MJ, aka France. And then in Group A, we have, I freaking love like Group A. First of all, I love that they put them in Group A, but you have Serbia, Spain, China, and Puerto Rico. So Spain and China, OGs. OGs on the Olympic scene, on the international scene. Serbia and PR, new kids on the block. So they were like, yeah, you come and run and do this. Nigeria has an interesting placing with Canada, Australia, and France. France not to be trifled with. I know they're the host, so they were going to get in regardless, but don't sleep on France. They got Gabby Williams, they got MJ. Like, come on. That's going to be a fun team to watch. And it's going to be loud AF when they play. I'm excited for that. Japan, pretty solid. We talked about Belgium. Of course, the USA and Germany. The former, if I remember correctly, the former Lisa Tomaitis, the former head coach of Team Canada, is now the Team Germany coach. Now, will we see any Sabali sisters for Germany? I think that's going to be interesting. So we got to see what happens there. Okay, so I want to talk. We've talked about Stewie. We talked about Sab. We alluded to Caitlin Clark and her snub. But I want to know what y'all really think, because I was advocating for Benajelani Hamilton. Now, I do think for different reasons than Caitlin Clark, different reasons than Arike, and I really don't understand, well, other than the position that she plays, what the reason for Bree Jones could be to not have her on the team. I think it's really just position. If we're who you taking off? You not sending Brittany? Oh, come on, what we doing? You gonna be like, no, Asia, that's all right. Sit this one out. I mean, it's just anyway. Hamilton. I mean, that's tough too, because then who do you not bring? I feel like the Swiss Army knives of this team, like the proper, like that's their role in any team that they play, I would say is Stewie, AT, Kai to an extent, maybe a little bit, but between AT and Stewie, I mean, I feel like for the role that they would play, that's where Benajelani Hamilton, she would have to bump one of those two off. And that's tough. Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah, nobody's cracking that. So, I mean, you're asking her to. And I know. There are multiple people who were also on that short list, right? Like you said, Bree Jones, Ariel Atkins, I think was a big.
Yeah, well, yeah, because she's played in she played in the most recent World Cup, right?
So yeah, but it's tough. That's been my argument with everybody talking about the Olympic team. Like, who are you taking off this team?
Right. So quick to say, this person. There seems to be one that floats at the top of the list. We'll get into that. Yeah, but that's tough. Okay. Question: is Chelsea Gray definitely going?
That's what I was going next. Yeah.
I mean, as far as we know, yes. Okay, let me bring it back, because I know a lot of people have been talking about alternates. I can't remember the last time that USA basketball on the women's side has had to use alternates. But if I understand the Olympic competition and international competition like World Cups, at least the way they do it in like soccer or even in hockey as well, there are players that are not announced on the roster that travel with the team and or are asked to be readily available for the team in the event of injury. So we know that USA basketball has a super short list, because who is going to Paris on the 5-on-5 team this year as a second-time Olympian looking for a second gold medal, first in 5-on-5, that was called off from her vacation. Jackie Young. Oh, that's probably the other Swiss Army. I was like, why can't I think of any? Jackie Young. That's also, I mean, Benajelani having to beat out Jackie Young. That's tough. That's real tough. But Jackie Young was on Vacaciones, right? And then who was it? It was Katie Lou, right? Katie Lou Samuelson caught the Rona. And that was at Tokyo. So that was the delayed Olympics. And then, I mean, it was the same in 2022 on the winter side. If you tested positive within a specific window, it was shut down, can't do it, not going. So then they had to get Jackie Young from vacation, make sure she went through protocol, make sure she didn't test positive, and then send her. So there is a mechanism at the Olympics and for USAB, where if and when someone cannot go, someone gets hurt mid-tournament, and even mid-tournament, they don't actually have to bring in an alternate if they don't want to, because that happened in the women's hockey. For the women's national team in the most recent Winter Olympics, USA had a nasty injury, one of their first games, COVID policy, couldn't get somebody in, and they just opted not to bring the next person. Anyway, so all of that to say, why am I bringing this up with Chelsea Gray? Is Chelsea Gray definitely going? She's announced to the roster. She's questionable for the next Aces game. She's going, as far as we know. She's going.
Yeah. It's a situation where Chelsea Gray is an integral piece to not one, but two teams. Two teams with the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Break it down.
So to risk her coming back because all the Aces are 5-5. Oh my gosh, they're not a super team. Oh my gosh, it's time to panic. Yeah, it's a long season in the WNBA, and Team USA is trying to win gold. And Chelsea Gray is the magician that is going to take us to the promised land.
And why is the magician important this particular Olympics? Why is that, Brian? Why is that, Misha? Because you know who we don't have? No Bird.
Exactly.
No floor general. Who is the point guard without Chelsea Gray? Mm-hmm. That's what you want the rookie to do?
Last I checked, Dejanay Carrington was. Oh, let me not do that. Let me not do that.
You know what I'm saying?
Be for real.
Be for real. Okay, but let's get back to Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray is going. She's making this team. Yes, she is dealing with an injury, but again, she's listed as questionable. Questionable really means anything that people want it to mean. Questionable could mean, I could go, but I'm
questionable is questionable.
Questionable is questionable. Let's talk about this. Let's be for real. For the first time in 5 Olympics, you have no Sue Bird. You have no Sue Bird. And you're going to leave Chelsea Gray at home? Stop.
I just want to see the short list of point guards who could fill that position. And
this is the problem. I don't know who I need to call. I don't know who I need to call for this, but I see that there is a gap in developing true point guards. Not a shooting guard that could do a little something. Mm-hmm. Not a true 4 that you have bring up the ball because they can halfway dribble and you don't want to you're going to give it to them anyway, aka Breanna Stewart.
Yep.
True point. I don't think people respect enough what players like Sue Bird, I would say Tisha Penichero, Lindsay Whalen. We could go on and on and on. And Chelsea Gray, the point guard, yes, we do it because it's fun. It's culturally relevant. We like to have a good time. Mm-hmm. Chelsea Gray is just an elite basketball mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Elite passer. Elite clutch shooter. Chelsea Gray has given me fits because she ain't never played on a team that held my heart, I think it's cute. The Sparks, y'all are cute. I like
that was my team back in the day. Yeah.
But she just gives me fits to my core as a fan. But as a lover of the game, what? You love it.
Because you have to respect people. I don't think people get what it is to be a point guard, what the point guard role actually is at that level. Again, for 2 different teams, right? So you got a whole playbook for both teams. You got to know everybody's role, position in every play, front to back.
Everything.
You got to have a solve for every scenario, plus all the flashy stuff that we love to see. Behind the back passes, all that kind of stuff. But that's not really what she's doing. She's got a knack for leadership. I think she's also underrated. because they talk
Yup.
about that game 4 against Liberty last season. She was the one that was
Woo!
injecting, you know what I mean, confidence.
Why
into
you
that
had to
team.
do that? Why you had
Because
to do that?
I'm sorry. We're talking about Chelsea Gray. But like there are so many things outside of the flashy stuff that she does for both of these teams that you just cannot replicate, man.
Elite. And here's the thing. Diana Taurasi has that specifically when she plays for USA basketball. But you know what Diana Taurasi is not? She's not a point guard. Or at least that's not where you want her playing the majority of the minutes. Sabrina Ionescu could be a point guard. I still think she's a better 2. She's a little bit more of a hybrid than Diana Taurasi. But she's also young for this particular team.
Chelsea's like right in the middle.
Exactly. Ka's got a great engine. I'm very curious to see. Honestly, well, no, because Cloud is running point, right? In Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, not a, I wouldn't say at this kind of level, you want Ka to be running downhill. You want Ka to, be electrifying and just a pest defensively. That's what you want for Ka.
You don't want her memorizing everybody's plays. You just want her attacking the basket. You don't want her nothing else.
So who fills that void? Caitlin's not there yet. Now here's the question. I mean, obviously, I put on for Betnijah Hamilton because I just really like her game, and I think if everything had aligned for her timing wise, I think she could have been a mainstay as like a utility off the bench for Team USA. She just kind of got into the pipeline on a comparative to some of the other people a little bit later in her WNBA career. A lot of people want Arike on this team, saying she's a snub. And I get it. And yet I'm hesitant. Arike has done much better with facilitation. Everyone in the WNBA has noticed that. And this is where you play the USAB game. What were the improvements that the definitive, clear as day improvements that Arike Ogunbowale made enough to have her mixed in with this USAB team? I mean, but then also, I don't know, even if the answer is yes, best facilitator, best passer in the WNBA. If Chelsea Gray is healthy, you still go with Chelsea Gray. I mean, I don't know, Brian, what you think? I mean, if it's a like for like, both are healthy, who you got?
Yeah, because I think ultimately, if both are at peak capacity, I'd want the point guard, because for Arike, I feel like Jewel Lloyd can sort of like duplicate what she does. Like Jewel can heat up, Jewel can facilitate a little bit. So if you have like for like, I'll take the point guard, because you're gonna, especially when the games get tighter, you're not gonna want, Stewie or AT running the offense. You want them doing other things. You like, if I have Gray there, I can give it to Gray, be like, hey, get everybody in the right spot, or if all else fails, take it to the mid-range and make something work that way. So you have more buttons to press with Chelsea. And I think that having a guard like that allows you to sort of like build out your lineups and other kind of fun combinations. So you have more to work with in that regard, I think.
Yeah. I don't think Chelsea Gray is replaceable, especially with Asia on that team. That's a good point also. Because and we're going to get into the aces because we're going to talk Commissioner's Cup and, of course, the game coming up on Saturday, especially with Asia on this team. Just wondering because we haven't seen her play yet this season, and that is valid. Okay, I'm going to go back to women's soccer real quick. Now, I do think the U.S. Soccer Federation made a mistake. I think it was was it a World Cup or Olympics? Anyway, there was a year where Megan Rapinoe, one of the most electric players to ever play for the U.S., made an international roster for an international. I cannot for the life of me remember if it was the Olympics or World Cup, because both are massive on the soccer side. World Cup in basketball, at least in the United States, is not as big as it is other places. And she was put on that roster knowing damn well that she wasn't going to be anywhere near significant minutes, anywhere near healthy. And I think that was the year they left Heather O'Reilly off, which hurt my freaking heart. And I think maybe Kristen Press as well. That was a bad move.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is in reality what everyone is making this USAB roster to be. They went with the name instead of the strategy. And you know what? They didn't come home with a medal. I'm pretty sure that was the year. It must have been the Olympics. That's when Sweden just parked the dang truck.
Park the bus.
Yep, they parked that IKEA truck. They said boop, 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 and had Hope Solo, with her knickers all bunched up. She was so mad after that. That was a bad choice in my estimation, because she wasn't healthy. I don't know how close Chelsea Gray is. I don't. But the Aces have been saying that she's going to be ready and available. Now, whether she'll play, how many minutes she'll play, we don't know. But that she will be available to them before the All-Star break.
Oh, Erica, to that point, I wrote it down in my notebook. I think during the Zoom availability, it wasn't Jennifer. It was I guess the other person in charge. I think she mentioned that the rosters officially lock on July 26th, so about 48 hours before competition starts. So I think for Chelsea in particular, we have a solid, if she plays this weekend, a solid month before the All-Star break to sort of develop a runway. So I think by that point, that would definitely help sort of shake off any rust, allow us to see what she looks like. And I think going into Paris, if she's healthy, if she's anywhere close to healthy, I think we get to the managing minutes portion.
Right.
And then if she's not able to give you, she's not, I think it would be unwise for Hammond here in the US or Cheryl Reeve in Paris to play her heavy minutes. I think that would be a gigantic mistake. But if she's able to give you at least a quarter of the amount, you still, that sort of 10 to 12 is still better than a 0 that you would have gotten otherwise. So I think that for the next month, really just sort of fine tuning her game enough. And then you just sort of trust her to sort of blend in and sort of
right.
Use the past muscle memory of your play with your teammates in Tokyo and Australia to sort of get you where you need to be. So I think the month in between gives her a lot of time to get comfortable and reacclimated to game speed.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it does give them a fail-safe in the event that she cannot go. Thanks, Jen, for posting some halftime scores for us. Indiana over Atlanta. Ooh, the dream.
Boy.
I kind of expected that because the way they played against the Mystics the other
it was basura. I was like, what are y'all doing? I don't know. They gotta figure that out. Dallas trailing. Why did I really think that was St. Louis?
I did too, because that's how it's abbreviated.
I was thinking St. Louis Blues. I was like, we ain't got a St. Louis team yet. That's the Seattle Storm 48-40. Good to see NECA back. Yeah, that's gonna be real interesting. And speaking on that, will we get to see Chelsea Gray a little bit later this weekend? Because we got a finals rematch. Oh, this is from last time. I did the wrong one. There we go. We have a finals rematch coming up. And I mean, I don't even know where to start with this one because on the one hand, it's exciting, I think, for a lot of people. Finals rematch. Could this be a good barometer for a New York Liberty team that we said early on they were getting wins, but it wasn't looking too good? I think they've smoothed out some of those rough edges. But woo, 5-5 for the Aces. Now, I'm going to keep it real because this is a podcast for New York Liberty fans. When the New York Liberty were taking their licks early on, people like Tarika Foster-Brasby were saying that they were overrated, they ain't got time, yada, yada, yada. I don't see nobody saying that about the Aces. Not even me, who wrote a story for CBS Sports. Now, I'm hating a little bit. There's my story. I put it in the chat for y'all. I'm hating a little bit because, again, this is a podcast for New York Liberty fans. But I just do think that it's interesting that narratives change from season to season. Also, I don't see Seattle getting all that smoke for being a super team before the season started and then not being so super right out the gate. I digress. We're going to get the Aces on Saturday, Brian. Where do these two teams sit in your estimation? And should we be reading too much into the tea leaves this early in the season?
You know, I will say it is. I can't I feel like in life, whenever someone runs the block for a long time, after a point, someone's like, "Oh, y'all ain't so bad." And I feel like teams are sort of doing that with Vegas. Like we saw Natisha Heidemann pin Kelsey Plum's shot, and then Plum was like all up in her face, and Natisha Heidemann was like, "What are you going to do about it?" Essentially. So I love that teams are really like the competition in the league is so much better. So you have teams that are like, "Oh, you guys aren't going to boat race us by 25 again, like it was last year. Like we're better, our teams are better. Like we're coming for you every single night." And I think that's what's happened to Vegas a little bit this year. Like teams are not catching up per se, but teams are more. There isn't less intimidation.
Yeah, I think that's real.
Yeah, like in the game on Sunday, they lost to the Sparks. Like they were up, I want to say 22-4 early. I was like, I didn't watch this game, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Sparks are back in it, and then the Sparks won. So you see teams catching up, and you see teams really sort of getting to where they need to be, and sort of being able to take advantage of that defense. We've spent years talking about depth on this team, and we look at Vegas without Gray, and then Jackie was under the weather and missed a few games, and then you really sort of see what happens when you deplete that depth, and then you don't play the people on the bench, or you don't trust them enough. So you're playing Kelsey Plum 39 minutes
going back to the Bill Lambier days.
Yeah.
And he's out of position with Bill Lambier.
Yeah, like we get at Sandy sometimes for playing people too much, but it's like you're not like you shouldn't be playing like you're a star 38 minutes in a May game. Like you should have enough room to be able to go to your bench for a little bit of time at the very least. Like players never want to sit, but it's like when you're in charge, you got to make sure that you prevent them from pushing themselves too hard, especially early in the season, and especially with the schedule as compact as it is. Like you're gonna run out of gas at a certain point. And Plum has been struggling for the past couple games, so teams are really sort of getting at her a little bit more. Aisha Wilson's still doing what she does, but if no one else is up to standard, it's one person against a whole 12 on the other side, ready and coming at you every single time.
Liberty fans don't know nothing about that. I mean, and I put the article in the chat. Go check it out. But one of the things that I think is also interesting and a conversation also New York Liberty fans can likely understand, Kia Stokes got to average more than 2.1 points per game as a starter.
Absolutely. She's got to be a factor. And I don't want that to be mistaken. Like we don't need her posting up and isoing every time like that. I don't think that's exactly what we talking about. Like that's not what we talking about. But she's got
that's not what Misha talk about. But anyway, go ahead.
That's not what I don't think. I think she's a player that thrives off of let Asia be the focal point, and whatever she puts up that doesn't go down, that should be all Kia. Any situations where what I mean? Any situations where Asia's drawing two or KP's drawing two, Kia's got to be cutting. Sometimes she just kind of stands and watches. She's got to be cutting and making herself available to the ball. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I get you, and that is a great point, because another thing that she is good at is defensive rebounding her whole career. Amala, Liberty fans know, great defensive rebounder. Them shoulders, I'm like, yes, not great. Offensive rebounder. Not great.
Doesn't make sense to me, man.
I mean, I have some theories, but I just, it's wild. It's wild to me. Kia Stokes has always been such an interesting, like, as much as I say the Sandy Brondello years in Phoenix confuse me, Kia Stokes confuses me even more. She's got the size. She's got the body build. We know that she, at least in theory, can make shots from the perimeter. She doesn't take them. She doesn't, I don't know, like, sis don't shoot. She don't shoot. She don't shoot the ball. And again, if you look at historically eye test, but also her numbers, she just doesn't seem to be in the right position to be an offensive rebounder. To your point, it's like, all right, did my job, set the screen, I'm gonna just swim away. Like, no. Which had me thinking, I was watching, who did they play the other day?
Minnesota? Or
was it Minnesota? Oh, no, I think it was the Minnesota game. I was watching, and Megan Gustafson has really grown into her game. Gives you more.
Yeah.
A lot. A significant amount more. And it was wild because, like Carolyn Peck was saying, that the ask for the ask for Kia Stokes is to get 4 points a game. Have we regressed to the 2000s, the early 2000s, where you just have a big back to the basket? The WNBA hasn't been that league in a while. And you just need 4 from her as a starter. I did some of the numbers again in that CBS. Asia Wilson is like 33% of all of the significant numbers, I think, except for assists, rebounds, scoring. She makes up a third of all productivity. No post player is even close to those numbers. To me, that's not going to win you a lot of games. And I do think having Jackie Young back is going to help. I do very much think, from what we said earlier, that having Chelsea Gray is going to improve. But what that is not likely going to do is change some of what's happening for the Aces offensively, where I think they can be vulnerable. And that's offensively at the post position. Now, if you hear the Aces talk about it, they are very disappointed, Misha, in how they're playing defense.
Yeah. And that's kind of my bottom line too, is like, I think right now with the roster that the Aces have, even with Kia Stokes aiming for 4 points a game, if they play the defense that we know they're capable of, they can win games. I do believe that. I do think, now if we're talking about championship, that's a different question. That's a different question. But in this stretch, I think, I don't know. I feel like they can be okay up to the playoffs, make the playoffs. But would they be able to take a team that doesn't have Kia Stokes production and make it all the way to the finals again with the way that other teams are playing right now? That is what I have question marks around.
I mean, I think that's fair. And we're not going to get that answer. Who they play tonight? They play Phoenix. They play Phoenix?
I think so.
Today's Thursday. I'm like, I don't know what day. Yeah, I think they play Phoenix tonight.
Yes,
and then they have New York in Phoenix. Ooh, in Phoenix. Okay, but so again, the second question on the table, Brian, I want to start with you. What are we gonna know after Saturday's matchup about the two teams that squared off in the finals, if anything?
I think for the Liberty, this will be a great opportunity to sort of like see all their long arm defenders in action. Like one of just look around. Oh, Leo's arms long as hell. Who knew? So I think one of the big things that sort of like got one of the sort of pressure points that hurt them last year was that they didn't have enough rangy defenders for Vegas on the perimeter. Now they took care of that. You have Leo, who's really gotten comfortable. Like, she's been a huge part of the past week and change for the team. She's added, Lainey Hamilton's there. You have Burke there. Thornton is doing what she does. JJ's at full strength. Like, you see the length and the sort of like everything sort of starting to come together in that really fantastic way. So I think we'll get to see how their perimeter defense matches up. We'll see who gets the Jackie, assuming full strength, who gets the plum assignment. I think there will be a lot of great opportunities to see what the Liberty can do. And I think also in a matchup like this, we know that Vegas has the best player, but I would say right now, New York has the next best three after. in JJ, Sabrina, and Stewie. So we're really going to see if that'll be enough to sort of like offset what Wilson can do. And I think to your other point, just sort of like go back to the length of the Liberty defense, like, with Kia in particular, like she tends to sort of drift into the corner a lot and not do anything. So that way, and you have like defenders like JJ and Stewie who can roam and go all over the court. You as if you're Asia Wilson, you have more long rebounds and who's all the way just sort of spaced out in the corner and can't shoot well. So that's going to make your job a lot harder, and it's going to make the work you do even more challenging. So I think for Vegas, it's a matter of how do you sort of scheme to get Asia those easy shots. Where do you get her on the move? Do you just have her at the elbows, just like hoping that she can mid-range jumper JJ and keep her honest in that regard? How do you work to make her life easy? Because even last year, they made it hard on her. Like she still was able, but it was really difficult and challenging for her. And now that without Gray, Plum in a slump, Jackie in a slump, no bench to go with, Tip Hayes just getting, so it's going to be a lot harder. And for Vegas, you're having to sort of like adjust to a new paradigm without Gray for the first time in 3 years, and you're facing a team that's been building. The starting five has built it over the past year. The bench is getting it together day by day, and you're seeing new players and new roles that you're not used to. So I think that's going to be a big thing. And I want to stay on Sabrina for a second. I think a big thing for her compared to last year is she is miles better inside the painted area. Like I think we might have mentioned it last week, but she's shooting like maybe like 75, 70, like 78% inside the restricted area. So you have a guard who's getting downhill, who's using those floaters, finishing over contact, getting to the free throw line. That's a different wrinkle for her as compared to last year, where she was sort of like indecisive when it came to getting to the basket and more spacing out from the 3-point line, having to adjust to a player who's taking on a new role, who's stronger than last year. She said that, she worked on that, worked to build her strength up in her off-season training. So you're getting used to that. And your defense currently is in a really bad spot. It's a bad mix for them, and the Liberty are catching them at a point where they're traveling back home from Phoenix tonight after the game, whereas New York has been resting all week and just sort of letting themselves heal back up. So I think a lot of factors are coming together to make this really difficult for Las Vegas. And I guess also it's still early, but you don't want to be in a spot where you're at a possible like 5-game losing streak, because I think right now it's 3 straight. And we're recording this before tonight's game in Phoenix. So I think, especially you can win back-to-back championships, but when you're in a losing streak and people are aiming for you every night, it's going to be hard and it's going to put more pressure on you. You can say, oh, we'll be fine, this and that. But even in their post-game press conference on Tuesday, they were like, the vibes aren't here right now. Like, it just feels off.
Trying to find the joy. Didn't KP say trying to find the joy again or something like that?
KP had a lot to say. I mean, effectively saying the discipline wasn't there. Becky was like, since day one, the defense ain't been there, which is wild. But I was dancing while you was talking because, in the words of Amanda Seales, I be knowing. I told y'all, Sab needs to stop arguing calls. Put her head down, get through that first unquick step, and then it's gold. It's gold. Because she's stronger than people realize. And you say she got even stronger. We see it. We see it.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what's happening. Stewie has seemed, I don't know if you want to say fatigued. I was talking with the homies Owen and Miles on their podcast, The Pull Up, and saying that she's not connecting at the perimeter like she was last year. I think a part of that is we know Stewie for the first time is not coming immediately from overseas. And the grind of being a women's pro is that you're always going nonstop. And the change that's happening now with prioritization, getting a little bit older just for Stewie, and you know, she will soon have a league unrivaled where she will prioritize for herself and other people staying domestic, is that now you've gone for almost 10 seasons going boom, 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 boom. And now you have to adjust to slowing down. The great thing about being in constant motion, and this is, you know, like, I don't run unless I'm being chased these days, or running for the bus. Really, that's when I hit the gas. That's when I'd be like, oh, I still got it. If I make that M15, I know I still got it. The day I can't catch the M15 when I left 4 minutes out my family apartment, that's when I'm like, dang, Erica, okay, you might be washed. You might be washed for real. But if I still catch that bus, we good. I don't care. I don't care. You can say what you want. I'm going to catch that dang bus. Anyway. When you're used to a physical routine, right? Running, swimming, whatever the case is, even walking, running for the M15 on 2nd Ave, and First, when you are used to that, you might not be feeling your best. You might have a little bit extra weight in your backpack, but you're going to make it to the destination. You're going to get them shots up and in. When you ain't done it for a minute, it takes a little while to get the rhythm back. And I think that's what we're seeing from Stewie. That's what we saw from JJ last year. And that's really interesting. I think that's going to be interesting to see where Vegas is in getting their rhythm back. Jackie coming from an illness. When Chelsea Gray is able to come back, Asia Wilson is very much in rhythm. Very much in rhythm. And how long can that rhythm be sustained at the level that she's being asked to compete?
Yes, absolutely.
That's the thing. And right now, I mean, Brian, you've already said it a few times. Plum Dog, not in rhythm. Just not. Do I take? Oh, see, this is how you know it's a podcast for New Yorkers. Listen, I'm only taking the local if it's after 11 p.m. I'm only taking I'm on that select all day. I ain't got time to waste. Come on, we on that SBS all day. And I love it because my family apartment, that thing stops right in front of the apartment complex. So if I'm coming back from Barclays, I'm taking the Q and then I'm walking to the M15 if I'm really, really tired, because I could just walk from the Q if I, you know. But if I'm coming from downtown, I'm taking the M15. I'm not taking the 6. I'm not taking the Q. If I could take that M15 and it dropped me, I get on. I swipe once, I tap once, and then I'm right at my door. I don't care how long it takes. I'll be on there all night. Charging up, listening to things, listening to my little notes, whatever. I mean, that M15, man, when I was in grad school, I was doing my homework on the M15 right on there. Special place in my heart. Anyway, okay, now is the time. Thank y'all for tuning in. If y'all have questions, comments, we want to fire things off, start putting it in the chat. Because we're about to get into the fourth quarter. I mean, listen, I don't know if I could be the head coach, Damien. I feel like GM, maybe, armchair, sofa GM, definitely. I mean, I feel like I've got a competitive resume to be somebody's sofa GM. You feel me? Or they want to do like the Eddie movie and they like give me like honorary GM for a day. I would crush that.
I'm here for it.
I mean, y'all should listen to Miles and Owen's podcast because I told a story. I probably have told it on here. When I tell you, I used to holler at my mom to be like, Ma, I need you to go downstairs. The Liberty bench is right over there. Do you see that? That's the coach. Tell him to put Becky Hammond in the game. Because in my mind, I was like, okay, who's the most unfuckwittable authority that I know? Mom, hands down.
Naturally. This
man needs yoke him up. Somebody get this man. because they wasn't playing Becky Hammond. And I knew it. And then she had to leave New York to be a 6-time All-Star. Had to leave New York.
That's good instinct.
Fumbled the bag. Fumbled it. You should have listened to me when I told my mom to go talk to you, but y'all wanted to play games. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, I still use the Metro card too. Sometimes I tap just because it's a little convenient. But I hope MTA don't watch this, but if I'm being honest, sometimes I misplace my wallet and I just wait to see if by the time I have to exit, if we all good. Listen, but don't get got because you mess around and take the M15 at the wrong time, and then you see them folk come in, and then they have the machine too where you gotta tap your phone so they can check to see if you tapped your phone. I'm like, first of all, y'all are wasting too much time. You gonna go through everybody on this bus, wasting time.
Okay, I have a story about that.
I love it.
So I came back from Atlanta like last year because I went to a conference. So like I was on the 46 select bus. I had forgot to get the ticket, and then right at my stop, there was 4 of them. I'm walking out. I'm like I'm looking at my pockets. I'm like, I'm not like I put money on my card like 5 minutes ago. Where's my select ticket? I ain't have it.
Dang.
Dollars flew out of my wallet into their wallet, and I was like, man, ain't this about something?
And then they get you too. If you try to give your ticket,
I had jet lag and everything. So I'm like, man, this is get back home false.
No, that's crazy, Brian. I ain't never got. But I know how to cheat this. I'm gonna tell you off air. I'm gonna tell you off air how to cheat the system. Anyway, but you know they also get you if you give your ticket to somebody else. You're like, listen, I only needed like 2 little stops. Here you go. They get you with that, man.
That's a waste.
That's what I'm saying. You could ride on one swipe from Harlem all the way down to Staten Island Ferry. And then if you do it within a 3-hour window, you could ride back. I'm like, just let the brother have the ticket. I'm not using it no more. I paid you. What you worried about? I can't share. Come on. Anyway. All right. 4th quarter. Here we go. Because we going way off the MTA rails here. All right, let's go to these comments. Okay, first of all, when I read this to myself in my head, I was like, besides, me and her got the same cake.
Okay. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Same. You're not like, why? Oh, birthday. Right. Oh.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I'm glad this is a safe space because I was like, I was like, is it red velvet? Is it chocolate? Funfetti? What kind of cake y'all got? Oh man. Okay. Aloysius and Sab have the same birthday. I'm learning how to read my emojis. I'm a millennial, people. Okay. I'm a geriatric millennial. Leave me alone. All right. This is the conversation a lot of people are having. I wanted us to get through a lot of other things. Disappointed that they didn't put Caitlin Clark on the Olympic roster. I hear you. I don't agree with you, but I hear you. I remember someone was like, "Oh, do you think Caitlin Clark is going to make the roster?" And I was like, "No. Why would I think that?" You know, it was an editor. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, "Well, is she going to make the roster?" But am I disappointed that she didn't make this Olympic roster? No. If she don't make the LA Olympic roster, if all things stay the way we expect them to stay, no injuries, none that. I would be disappointed if she don't make the LA roster, if she's not in camp more regularly. But as it stands right now, I personally am not disappointed. Misha, how you feeling?
My question to you, Aloysius, is why are you disappointed? Let me not say any reasonable person, but if you were paying attention to the Olympic team and the camps and, you know what I mean, all the games that have been played between the last Olympics and this Olympics, I have no reason to think Cece was gonna make this team. So on that tip, okay. What I really hope, Aloysius, is that you're not one of the marketing bros that have been trying to mansplain why the U.S. national team should have put her on there for the ratings. To me, because we're talking about a team that's won 7 straight gold medals.
Yeah. And I have faith in Aloysius. I have faith.
I do too. And I just wanted to say, I hope that's not why. But
yeah. And I mean, I get this. I get what people are saying. And that has never mattered for the USAB women's team. It has never mattered.
Women's.
I also think it's fair to say, like, I'm disappointed Banajaliani Hamilton isn't on the team, just as an example. Does that mean I think she was snubbed? We kind of talked about it, right? I mean, who are you taking off? Like, I feel like you can, as a fan or as someone who just wants good things for a specific player, you can be disappointed that someone didn't make a squad without going to the lengths that some other people have gone to.
You peep JC.
Oh, you already know I peeped that. Okay, so also there was the edit. So DT literally has the same amount of Olympics experience that CC has life. Okay.
I get it.
I feel like my brain maybe made a shortcut and then I read it out loud and I was like, oh, do I know what the comment is? I'm not sure. We kind of hit on this. Earlier. And DT, I feel like, said it better than anybody. She was asked, so you made an Olympic squad right out of college. She's like, yeah, I won 3 straight national championships and then I was invited to the Olympic team.
She won. The Olympic team is about winning.
Also, you know what DT, Breanna Stewart, and Sabrina Ionescu, I think also Aaliyah Boston had that, to no fault of her own, Caitlin Clark did not have. Camps.
Facts, though. Facts. Like, you mentioned it. Maybe Aloysius wasn't here for that portion, but you mentioned,
I was talking to JC though.
7 practices, 6 games.
Yeah.
You can't just throw somebody in the mix and say, okay, good luck. Like, that's just not how this works.
Surprised at Dawn Staley didn't fight for her being that she won her award 3 times. I don't know that those are like connected. And I also don't know what Dawn Staley did and didn't say. So I can't speak to that. I mean, if we were going to kind of use that logic, I mean, Dawn Staley coached Aaliyah Boston for 4 whole years. So 3 awards named after her, 4 years on her actual team. I don't know who's she going to go to bat for more, or who's she going to be disappointed, right? More. And that's the thing. Dawn Staley, I think, is a part of the selection committee. She's obviously not the head coach anymore. Dawn Staley is not the only person on the selection committee. Also, when you talk about folk keeping it a buck, you got 2 women, they ain't never scared. Cheryl Reeve, first of all, just so we're clear, Christine Brennan. Cheryl Reeve is the head coach, not on the selection committee. Cheryl Reeve tweeted in early May that it's more than one player in regard to her team not being on WNBA League Pass, and fans live tweeting to upwards of 300K plus watching on a rickety smartphone.
Yeah, context is important.
So I don't understand why you want USA Basketball to respond to what the head coach, who's not on the committee, did before selection was finalized. I don't know why Cheryl Reeve has to respond to that. That's kind of wild to me.
That also wasn't a dig at this specific player. It was a dig at
the WNBA. Thank you. I'm sorry. I got excited. Continue, Misha. I'm gonna go.
No,
on mute.
I mean it's that simple. It wasn't a dig at Caitlin Clark. It was a dig at the fact that their game should have been on the television, and that a lot of these games need to be on the television, and that bad decisions were made in terms of which games will be televised. That's not
right.
not
That was what that
all.
comment was about. It's wild. Like Christine Brennan, I know some people don't like calling people out, and I sometimes feel like people need to be called out. In this situation, I just don't understand why Christine is really grinding this axe, Brian, because Cheryl Reeve cleared up any confusion that there might have been about her tweet in her post game, including the fact that she said, I know that this takes a lot. I know that there are things involved to get a broadcast on. And you know what she also said? So she's like, yes, it takes time. She said that. But you know what she also made clear? That people who have been in women's basketball have been telling women's basketball executives to be ready for this moment. And it proved that they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that was very much a dig towards the league office and Bally Sports and whoever has the TV contract right now. I don't think, because I think trying to be like, oh, she was biased against her. It's like, no. Like she cleared it up that night. Like everyone who's around knows what she's talking about. So there's that. I guess also, I wonder if you guys are thinking how I'm thinking. I feel like this sort of like cycle was the last vestige of the pandemic slowing everything down. Because I guess theoretically, 2020, we have the games normally. 21 is camp time. 22 is camp time. 23 is camp time. And then now we have this cycle.
Camps. You ate that. You gotta clip that out. That was crazy. Cause after you said it the second time, I was like, oh, okay. But the point was made because you're right. But anyway.
Yeah, you're right, Brian. You're right. We all right.
And I guess also to Misha's point, I feel like this is where like folks who just like I don't want to say new because Christine's been around longer than I've been alive, so I don't want to be like new. So it's like I think a lot of people are using the men's Olympic team as a context.
Talking about camps. Not a game. Not a game. I'm sorry, Brian. That was hilarious to me.
It's all good. I think a lot of people are using the frame of the men's Olympic team as far as them just like grabbing people. And it's like when the last time they did that was in 2004, and then we finished with a bronze, and then they were like, we can't just like grab people in July and have them practice for like a couple times and then send them out to the other side of the world to compete. Like they realized that we have to like have people in the pipeline. You have to have people go to camps. You have to have people do all these things, and you can't just sort of like throw a team together at the last minute. And I think putting her in this setting where where she's just like learning everything with everybody, and she hasn't had that chance over the years to get familiar with Cheryl, sort of like get familiar with the players in that regard. That's true. That's a good comment right there.
Yeah, I think, and you hit on this, Brian, right? The training camp, Ionescu got feedback. She realized that feedback. Ka got feedback, realized that feedback. We need Caitlin in camp to get feedback.
Yeah.
She ain't learning on the fly like some microwave New York Liberty getting to the 2023 finals. We not doing that. That's not cute for the Olympics. That's not cute for the Olympics.
And I think the next World Cup, I believe, is in Germany in 2026. So I feel like that's going to be a great spot for her to get that initial international experience. So to get with the next generation of the team as they're sort of preparing for 2028 in Los Angeles. So there are going to be opportunities for her to sort of get acclimated with USAB in that regard. Because I think the last thing she did was the under-19 team in 2021 prior to the training camp in Cleveland. Other than that, like she really hasn't Yeah, like it's no fault of her own because she's in school while everything is
in
happening.
school.
Yep.
Traditionally speaking, if you look at the camps, they have the college players in the camps that are in the fall, right before NCAA season. And then if and when they have camps in an off Olympic year, later or earlier, I don't know, whatever. If they have it not in the fall, the college, or really, I guess at the top of the year, so in the winter and then in spring, in the winter camps especially, so at the top of the year, anywhere from like January to March, they don't invite college players, traditionally speaking. Why is that, Brian and Misha? Because they're playing for their college.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
playing for their college. They ain't at camp. When you have a head coach that's also a college coach, you know who else is not at camp? The coach.
Yeah.
That's just not the time to have college players coming to a USAB camp. And there's been an understanding of that. We're going to move on. I know we're going to talk about this because, to Brian's point, we talked about it with Chelsea Gray, but there's a little bit of wiggle room here. This is the roster that's been announced. If everything goes the way USAB expects, that is who is going to Paris. We still got some WNBA games, including the one on Saturday that we talked about. Now, this is interesting. And I feel like we maybe talked about this a little bit last episode, Misha. Does Caitlin Clark go to Phoenix as a WNBA All-Star and on Team WNBA against Team USA?
That I would not be mad at all. I would not be mad at that. If you look at the numbers she's putting up, if you look at the things she's doing, yeah, I think she qualifies for that. If you know what I mean, if she gets the votes, I see no issue with that. But I also want to see who else, you know what I mean? I want to see who else ends up on this team, because I just feel like we've got a lot of, like we mentioned, De'Erica Hamby at the very top. You know, what about her? There are a lot of people putting up crazy numbers right now who are making, you know, arguments for themselves, but I definitely think she can make an argument for herself. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think that's interesting. What do you think, Brian?
I would say I have two thoughts about this. The first one is Kathy Engelbert, Lynn Dunn, and everyone else has the cash register open, so everyone can sort of put their money in to get those All-Star jerseys and every other assorted Clark item for Phoenix. So they're rooting for that.
So what you're saying, Brian, is all of the arguments that we're hearing about USAB are going to be in play now that voting has opened. So what you're saying is to hold on to your seatbelts, folks, or buckle in, because we're about to regurgitate everything that we've been hearing for the last few days.
Yes, fan vote is 50%. The great state of Indiana will be hitting the button. I think Saturday is I think it's a 3-for-1, where I think your vote counts triple. So if you're voting Saturday, get it in there. She's in.
I mean, the fan vote alone. Come on.
Yeah.
And that's when all of the arguments about ratings and all of that stuff, it definitely comes into play. Much
now
more.
This is a real argument.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a much more salient point than her being snubbed from the Olympic roster. All right. JC, what do y'all think about 3x3? We did not talk in any detail about 3x3, so you're good there. I really like that 3x3 squad. And you know what? Cameron Brink, she might have a fan in me. Sis be on point with the outfits. Sis be on point
dressing
with the commentary. Sis be on point with the blocks. Now, she got work on them fouls. She got work on them fouls. And she's a little, the word that came to my mind is she's a little hoppy. What I mean by that is she's like a little over anxious sometimes when she's playing defense, which I think leads to some of her fouls. So she got to clean that up a little bit. You know, she got to get a little more definition, because I think it's just that, you know, she's just a little hoppy. She's a little, you know, be a little bouncy sometimes. But I think that's great. So it's Cam, Sierra Burdick. Like,
Snaps for Sierra. I love Sierra Burdick. Yo,
that's a solid.
Glad that she's getting her shine, because this team, you know, she's the vet. She's the vet on this team. And I love, you know, I think Ryan Howard she's here. You know what I mean? And I love that for a 3-on-3 team, especially because you can't hide. Nope. Right? Like things are going to go wrong, things are going to go right, but you can't hide. And I think Ryan Howard being as great a scorer as she is, but also as even keeled as she is, with Haley Van Lith, who's going to be turned up. Have y'all seen Haley Van Lith? This specific format for her,
wild.
I mean, she is excellent 3-on-3. I love watching Haley Van Lith 3-on-3 highlights. So all that with Cambria.
You know what's also true about our 3x3 team?
What?
They've been in camp together, been winning competitions together.
Facts.
Camp. Come on now. Yeah. I think it's gonna be interesting. Ryan Howard, someone who's been in camp for 5-on-5, and maybe went the road that we saw Plum go last year, where it's like, you know what, not a good fit right now for this 5-on-5 squad. Go do 3x3. Let's see what we get. Let's see what you could do. So I think for me, Ryan on that team, and maybe I could see Brink at some point. But that Howard stands out to me as someone who it's like, listen, in my mind, it went something like, it ain't gonna work out this time, dog. Let's have you on this team. We want you to represent Team USA. Let's have you do it in this format, and let's see what we can get come next World Cup, next Olympics. That's kind of how I feel it went down, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And I think similar to how Jackie and KP were on the 3x3 team in 2021. I like that it's a stepping stone for the next generation of player. And I think Ryan is 24. So she's got plenty of years left to sort of really get on the 5x5 team, or at least sort of establish herself in that regard. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great opportunity to get more international run, get that experience, and be the lead scoring option again, which she's used to from being in Atlanta. Right. So right. I think it's going to be a great experience for her. And I think that and I think for USAB, they've done a good job of sort of melding past, present, and future when it comes to putting the teams together. Even I think in the Belgium team, I think Boston went, Ryan went. A lot of they've made sure to incorporate their younger players throughout the process in different sort of USAB sort of competitions and events. So even as the big dogs are heading up or heading for the 5x5 team, the next generation is right there behind them, getting those reps, and then when the time comes for them, they can move up the ladder.
I'm sorry, Brian. I saw this comment, and you know what? I've been holding draft tweets for a while regarding K Plum as an honorary Latina. I love me some Plum Dog. Always have. When everyone was hating on her as a rookie, I was like, y'all just wait. We ain't got enough time for me to get into how I really feel about this. I'll just put it this way. I'm not an honorary Latina. I'm an actual Latina. I'm an actual Latina who also happens to be Black. When you live at that intersect, one side of the street, at all times, whether it's the left or the right, trying to tell you what you are and you aren't. And so I just think it's really interesting to be culturally in a space with a lot of Black women where we are willing to embrace an honorary Latina and not actual Latinas. Not actual Black Latinas. So that's what I think. And if you need me to break that down, I'm happy to do so. I have very strong thoughts on this. I have very, very strong thoughts on this. And I like I said, I ain't got no problem. I ain't got no beef with Plum Dog. I guess the way I'll say it is this conversation's a bit triggering. It's a bit triggering. But I thought it was hilarious. Because, Latinos are white too. I'm not a white Latina, but they exist. That's another thing.
There's a pretty prominent one in the WNBA who doesn't get that part of their story told a lot for the reasons that we're talking about right now. But okay.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about because we already talked about her.
What I'm putting down,
and she be whipping out that Spanish and Italian. Thank you very much.
And do. Undo. And I think, you know, the other part about this is KP has tried to distance herself from all of that, and it continues to be. I will say the shit was funny. It was funny, but like
funny.
there's
It's
a
really
line.
funny.
There's always a line, and I think people
Well,
don't understand that. Like people
And
don't
here's
get.
the thing, like it is funny. I have no problem with it. But if you asking how I really, 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 really feel, and that's why I said I legitimately have the drafts. Legitimately, because I'm like, I'm not trying to yuck nobody's yum. Do I think that people are saying this to be hurtful? No, it's a joke. It's funny. I get that. And my life at the intersection ain't funny all the time. I don't get that grace. And I don't, like I said, I'm not honorary nothing. Nah, 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 nah. I'm all the way.
Yep.
I'm all the way. What?
You know, that opens up a can of worms on a conversation that I think needs to be had in the league. Like what you're talking about right now. I just feel like, you know, I don't know. But yeah, we need a whole nother podcast.
That's what I'm saying. So I really appreciate that you asked, because when I tell you, I've been like, am I gonna hit this button today?
I can't wait for you to hit it.
No. Am I gonna? Okay. No. Okay. No. See, and that's the thing, because there's a sensitivity that I have. I can't speak for everyone who also identifies the way I do, but there's a sensitivity because it's like, listen, you know what? I think the best way I can say it is this. Child, The Heights was a play. Lin-Manuel Miranda, very culturally relevant. Then it became a movie. One of the things that the movie brought to light was that there were very light and even white Latinos represented and not darker Latinos. That is a valid comment. Again, I live at that intersect. I'm not even the darkest skinned person in my immediate family. And there's all kinds of messiness. It's just messy. So it's a valid conversation. But I was like, miss me with, you are asking a person who is from the community that they are portraying. And I don't just mean as a Latina, as a Puerto Rican, literally lived in the Heights. And now we got folks from everywhere USA trying to impart their knowledge on what the Latina experience, what the Black experience is in the Heights. No, because when I watch quote unquote Black television, Black producer, Black director, Black writers, Black network, when they represent Latinos, you know what they also are? Blanquita. I don't see anyone but Spike Lee consistently representing Afro-Latinas. So don't come for Lynn if you're not coming for Blackish. If you're not coming from where the Lopez is, or whatever the F that show is. Everybody who speaks Spanish is not from Mexico or Spain. But see, when I go all the way live, the tweets are going to be like,
just hit the button.
Like all the way. There's like a lot. There's a lot. But you know what? K-Dog, I ain't got no problem. You could do what you want, boo. Be an honorary if you want. But she also squashed it. She's like, flattered, thank you. I'm white. But that's just, this is a arguably less harmful version of what we're seeing with Caitlin Clark, of what we've seen with Sabrina Ionescu, of what we've seen with Stewie, what we've seen with Sue Bird. It's fun. And there are people that don't enjoy the joke at the same level. Because I'll speak for me. This is my life. This is my life. I speak to Latinos about why you ain't do no Black shit, and they got a problem. I speak to Black folks about, okay, but you know, I hear you, and you gotta meet me halfway. And it's like, well, why you gotta be all about that? You ain't even Black. Oh, am I? Oh, I'm not Black. Okay, great. Do you know where the Amistad was going? Do you know where it was coming from? Do you know where it stopped? Cuba. You know where my people are from? Cuba.
We need to do a whole history lesson here.
So you want to tell me Alabama is closer to the western coast of Africa than the Caribbean? I don't know about that. Woo! Okay, see that went, and I would just, I gotta, the tweets, they gotta come out. This is like, that's a very passionate, and I know Grady and I have had some conversations. That's why I always uplift what she's talking about. I stopped at the plum dog because I was like, I get it, but I'm not entertaining that right now. But you know, talking to Hannah Hidalgo, who's also from the East Coast, and that's another thing. Being from the East Coast, I'm now in Tulsa, whole different Spanish speaking culture down here. You go to LA, the West Coast, whole different culture. Because we're literally from different parts of the Americas. We're literally from different parts of the Americas. But anyway, I digress. There was something else. Thank you, Damien. Yes. Like, we got to get into it. Like, that's why we keep it real. We keep it funky here on Black Rosie Media. Not rice and beans, grits and I'm done. Oh man. Okay, and this is a whole nother thing. The language that we use. You can be Latino and not identify with the word Hispanic, or vice versa. That's really real too. People be like, Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you know that exists. And I've never called myself Hispanic, so I don't know where you got that from. Just as an example. But again, like, there's like layers. There's a lot of layers. Okay, see, we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to get Grady on. We're gonna have to talk about this, especially with PR being in the Olympics. Yo, I'm about to be like, yeah, let's go. I'm so excited. Not everybody, y'all are crazy. Not everybody want to be a ninja, but nobody want to be a ninja. I'm weak. But yeah, I mean, colonization has a lot to do with all of this. So yeah, she's Irish. And then there's a whole history of Irish people and them being honorary.
Man,
people get wild. Just like people were like, Bill Clinton was the first Black president. And I'm just like, for the reasons for blowing a saxophone and then getting blown. That's why you say he's the first Black president. I cannot. I can't with y'all. I cannot. I'm sorry. I was just like, I'm just gonna say it because that's real. I was just like, you know what? We deserve so much better. Like, I know it's jokes, but like, and y'all know I love me a good joke. But like, when we go too far,
jokes are cute, but sometimes.
But when are we going too far? Too far? All right, Damien, I'm gonna get to you because you've been asking about Sabrina, and I think this is a good way to get this back to being a podcast for New York Liberty fans. I'm gonna go to you on this one, Brian. What message would you give to Sab? What do we need to see from Sabrina in the matchup against Vegas on Saturday? I think you kind of alluded to it, but I want to give you another chance to circle back to some of what you was talking about.
Yeah, I think I'm looking for her to just sort of like keep the pedal to the metal. Like, you've got a Vegas team that's a little bit tired, that's a little bit out of sorts. Just like really drive them into the ground, essentially. Like, drive to the basket, get them mad. Like, you know, like Sabrina sometimes, like she'll mess with the crowd a little bit, like get that Vegas crowd really mad, like piss them off, like really sort of like attack in that way. And I think for like, if I'm looking for like a set number, maybe like 15 points and like 5 assists at least, like a nice 15, 5 and 5, like a nice little game where she sort of like fits all the numbers on the board. Doing that way, I think that'll help. I think also for her, just like really just keeping the energy up. Like, she's done really good at sort of like keeping an energy on both sides of the ball, even when the results aren't there. The effort is there, and I think that goes a long way, because I think you can cover for mistakes with great effort. So I think that as long as she sort of like is focused, takes her time, really sort of like channels her sort of like passion and energy towards getting to the basket, really making those right plays. Vegas, like, she's gotten really better at handling chops on defense, really just sort of like trusting what she does. And then she'll really have a great showcase game, I think.
Yeah, I like that. All right, Mish, 5-5 start. We don't know what they're going to do against Phoenix yet. You know how we like to do here at Black Rosie Media on Gotta Get Up. The Las Vegas Aces will meet success against the New York Liberty on Saturday
If I mean, we already talked about it. Kia Stokes got a score, bro.
2.1 is
Even
wild.
if you give us 6 or 8 and some offensive rebounds sprinkled in there, we'll be good. We'll be good. No, but I think that's a piece. I also think Jackie Young coming back is the more significant piece to me. I feel like if she can chip in, 15 to 20, they'll be in a good spot. But like, main point, Asia just needs help, man. She can't just shoulder everything. She just can't shoulder everything. So that was all over the place, but
yeah, no, I like it. I think the only thing that I would add is Kelsey Plum. You got to get her an order of mofongo before the game. Let me stop.
You just stoking the fire. You
see, but I could do that because
you can't.
I mean, I had
So,
to.
yeah,
Because I went so like deep into my thoughts that I wanted to bring us back out. Come on, if she's gonna be honorary, you gotta eat mofongo, rice and beans, have a mata before the game. Like, if you're not at that level, then who I'm revoking on behalf of, especially we revoking.
For the carbs. Mofongo for the carbs.
You understand me though. You hear me though. She have plátanos with her eggs.
Oh, that's funny.
What are we? You ain't got the little press bun. Like the super like thin bread with all the butter for breakfast with some coffee that's basically sugar. That's why she's not playing well. I figured it out. We figured it out. I hope she don't figure it out before they play New York. I hope she don't figure it out. I mean, she want to be honorary. I need to see what kind of pots she got in her kitchen. If you know, not on some J-Lo ham and cheese. With what, J-Lo? With what? We talking lettuce? We talking you going mayo or mustard or salt, pepper, oil, and vinegar? What do we? No, I want to see what kind of pots she got. How you make your coffee? Do you even have that little thing to heat up your milk? If not, honorary for what? For what? Kia can't really score. No offense. Jackie Young can score more than Stokes. I mean, 2.1 average. Who can't score more than that? Who can't score more than that? Oh, ATL coming back.
Mm-hmm.
ATL coming back. Listen, y'all, I appreciate it. I love, first, clap it up for the co-hosts that we can go. The range is endless. It's infinite. Cafe Busta. You see, folks know. Y'all be knowing. Also, though, they use, but they're honorary too. They push the agenda. I forget where they're really from, but they're honorary because we use it, but they're not really cousins. They're not really family. Listen.
It's an American coffee brand.
It is. You see what I'm saying? They honorary just like KP. Listen, that whole messiness. I don't even know. I just hope K Plum is all right.
That's the point. Yeah.
I try not to speak on other people's relationships, even though you see, and you know what's a little messed up? Remember when I was like, Plum dog, I love you. I ain't like what you said after game 4. And the example that I gave is just because your man don't show up to your games don't mean I have the right to talk about your relationship. I swear, play the tape back. Because that's wrong. That's shady. Don't do that. But yeah, and then brother got a music video. He made that corny, crusty, corny music video and then had the nerve to retire. That's like the epitome of don't quit your day job, bro.
Yo.
Who is advising you?
The worst part is if you watch the music video, he clearly tried to get somebody he thought looked like Kelsey Plum.
He pulled
And
a
it's
JP.
just so cringe. And I
He
hate
pulled a
that
Justin
this is playing out
Timberlake.
the way
Did you
it
not
is.
miss how like all of the 90s pop fans, they were not messing with him, and then you did what he did? Nobody wants Cry Me a River. Go away, go away.
So, all the best wishes to KP.
For real. Yeah. She said what she said and then hasn't said nothing else about it. And said nothing else about it. Respect. All right, y'all. I saw some of y'all putting Cuban sandwich. Hey, listen, let's go. Come on. That'll get you where you gotta go. That's one thing we know how to do is eat. Come on now. Okay, I see some of y'all putting in the chat. This is one thing that I thought was interesting, and we'll probably have to talk about it next week, but will 3x3 players who are already named to Team USA, will they be on the Team WNBA roster? So I'm thinking Cameron Brink and Ryan Howard in particular, obviously, because they also have camp. So
Yeah,
the 3x3 team is also doing camp in Phoenix. But I don't know if, well, they're not going to be on the 5x5 team unless they want to be like, hey, we've got 2 extra substitutes. But then that wouldn't be an official WNBA roster. I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. But also, like, people are voting for Jewel Lloyd. People are voting for Stewie. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Good luck to whoever has to tally those votes. But all right, we're going to wrap this one up. We did a lot. That's what I was saying. I just appreciate y'all for coming on this journey with me, you know, taking it all in stride. We get real. We get very unreal, very unserious. But in between, hopefully you get some, you know, true analysis. You know, we definitely get off these jokes. We get passionate, but we always just do it for the love of the game, and particularly for Brian and I, the New York Liberty.
So we're clear.
All right, we're gonna go around the horn real quick. Let's start with Brian. Anything that you have coming down the pike, or something you want folks to know about that they can go check out?
I'm probably gonna get started on a Leo story. Like, I had a chance to chat with her at practice.
Y'all are hilarious. That's gonna be the episode of this camp.
Yeah, I'll probably, once I get around to it, assuming my computer stops acting up, I'll probably get started on a Leo story one of these days. Like, I had a chance to chat with her at practice yesterday, so she had some really great insight. So I'll probably get back to work one of these days to really sort of like put something solid together.
I love it. All right, Mish, what you got going on? JC said this. I ain't saying. I'm just putting.
Why would you pin this on the screen right now? I'm trying to say goodbye. You trying to trigger me right now. Whoa, come on, JC. You've actually heard plenty about the Mystics. It's just been unfortunate news.
It's all love. That's how we joke as New Yorkers, or honorary. I don't know where everybody's from, but
yeah, just a lot of gotta get up, a lot of podcast appearances. I was on K. Lou on not the 9450. It was Codename Mystics yesterday that dropped today. Just, you know, getting this analysis and these takes out there. Not even takes. I stray from that word at this point.
These days.
Yeah. But just make sure you follow it at Misha the Journalist on Twitter. Everything that I do mostly ends up there, and on Instagram as well. But yeah,
I love it. Okay, JC from Washington. Okay, Seattle, let's go. Or you didn't say Seattle. I said Seattle. I just have a special place in my heart for Seattle. Do my little Locked On Kraken podcast Monday through Friday. And for Black Rosie, we've got less than 50 days. I think we might be at 40 now until the Olympics. So expect some presence in the lead up. Should be in Phoenix. Still trying to work out if I will be in London for the exhibition game against Germany, but definitely will be boots on the ground because I made that final payment. Okay, let's go. Hotels paid up. Everything's good to go. Waiting on the credentials. And then Black Rosie Media, we're obviously going to talk about Breanna Stewart. Sabrina Ionescu and the rest of the USAB roster, but we have some other WNBA players who did not play in the or are not playing in the league this year, who are playing for other teams. We mentioned Misha, Gabby Williams, and of course, fan favorite MJ23. I'm so excited. Oh, Seattle won. Who were they playing again? Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I guess now to think about it, we got to figure out who the Liberty play in the Cup final. Like,
so it's Minnesota, right?
I think it might be Phoenix if Phoenix gets plenty of. No. I think it might be Minnesota.
I think it's Minnesota. I think they.
Yeah. I think Phoenix needed Dallas to win to get there. So like Minnesota.
Well, I mean, we the reason we don't know is because the Liberty went 5-0, so we was like, we ain't got to do no math. We just gonna.
That ain't got nothing to do with me.
Ain't got nothing to do with me. Ellie ready to go. Oh my gosh! Did y'all see the most recent Get Ready With Me? Hilarious.
For her birthday.
For the birthday, yes. Oh my gosh, hilarious. Ellie. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to see if we can get Ellie on the podcast. I don't know how that works, but. I'm a call. I mean, who does the Get Ready With Me? I mean, we'll figure it out. Oh, Phoenix needed a Dallas win. Okay. Well, like I said, the Western, they're going to figure that out. All we know is New York is in and they're hosting, what is it, Brian? January 25th. I think that's the date.
Yep, June 25th, Barclays Center.
I said January. Child.
I was like, let me let that ride. I was like,
I appreciate that.
I'm like, we here.
I was like, one of them J's. Yep. One of them J's. June 25th. This month on the 25th. There we go. Yep. Take all that out. This month on the 25th. Because they changed up the format. I love that. Be hungry. Be humble.
I know that's right, Damien.
I know that's right. I love it. On that note, you know what time it is? Where we wave awkwardly until the stream. Peace out, everybody.
Camps.